The crash. The sleek alien scout ship tore through the atmosphere of Novus Prime, trailing fire and debris. Inside, alarms blared as Ambassador Zarella fought to keep the vessel from breaking apart. Her crystalline skin glowed a deep purple with stress, her 4 arms working frantically across the ship's controls. "Hold on, Lumi," she called out to her daughter, strapped securely in a cocoon-like safety pod. The young alien's eyes were wide with fear, her normally iridescent skin pale and dull. Zarella knew their mission had gone horribly wrong. They were supposed to make peaceful first contact with the human colony on Novus Prime, opening diplomatic channels between their species. Instead, they had been shot down without warning, their distress signals jammed. The ground rushed up to meet them. Zarella braced for impact, her last thoughts of her daughter's safety. The crash shook the entire valley. Trees snapped like twigs as the alien craft carved a deep furrow into the earth, finally coming to rest in a smoking heap of twisted metal and shattered crystal. Silence fell, broken only by the crackle of small fires and the groan of cooling metal. Inside the wreckage, Zarella hung limply in her restraints, purple blood oozing from numerous cuts. She forced her eyes open, fighting against the pain that racked her body. "Lumi," she whispered, her voice barely audible. With agonizing slowness, she freed herself from the pilot's seat and crawled towards the safety pod. Relief washed over her as she saw her daughter's chest rising and falling. Lumi was unconscious but alive. Zarella's relief was short-lived. A quick assessment of their situation revealed the gravity of their predicament. The ship's life support was failing, and the atmosphere of Novus Prime was toxic to their kind. Without help, they would suffocate within hours. She activated the ship's emergency beacon, knowing it was a desperate gamble. If the wrong humans found them, it could mean death or worse. But they had no choice. As the toxic air seeped into the ship, Zarella held her daughter close, her own breathing becoming more labored. She whispered ancient prayers to the stars, begging for a miracle. Miles away, in a ramshackle workshop on the outskirts of New Houston Colony, an alert flashed on an old computer terminal. Sarah Chen, former military engineer turned reclusive mechanic, frowned at the unfamiliar signal pattern. "What the hell?" she muttered, her curiosity piqued. Sarah had built an array of salvaged communication equipment, mostly to keep an ear out for scavenger gangs. But this was something entirely new. She triangulated the signal's origin, her excitement growing as she realized it was coming from the restricted zone, an area the colonial government had declared off-limits years ago. Sarah's mind raced with possibilities. A downed military craft, a secret government project gone wrong. Whatever it was, it smelled like trouble, and in her experience, trouble often came with valuable salvage. She glanced at the human's only sign prominently displayed in her workshop window, a necessary evil in the xenophobic climate of Novus Prime. Then she looked at the blinking signal on her screen. "Ah, screw it," Sarah said, grabbing her toolkit and emergency medpack. Her hover bike roared to life, and she sped off towards the signal, leaving a trail of dust in her wake. As Sarah approached the restricted zone, the devastation became apparent. A wide swath of forest had been leveled, leading to a smoking crater. She killed the bike's engine and proceeded on foot, her hand resting on the sidearm at her hip. The sight that greeted her at the crash site stopped her in her tracks. The ship was like nothing she'd ever seen, all smooth lines and crystalline structures, nothing like the bulky human vessels she was used to. "Holy shit," Sarah breathed. "It's alien." Her first instinct was to run, to report this to the authorities. But something made her pause. The ship's design was elegant, beautiful even. It didn't look like the vessel of an invading force. A weak cry from within the wreckage made the decision for her. Someone, or something, was alive in there. Sarah approached cautiously, her engineer's mind already assessing the damage. The ship's hull had cracked in several places, and a noxious gas was seeping out. She pulled on her rebreather mask and climbed inside. The interior was a maze of unfamiliar technology, much of it smashed beyond recognition. Sarah pushed deeper into the ship, following the sound of labored breathing. She found them in what appeared to be the cockpit. Two aliens, one large and one small, their skin a mesmerizing swirl of colors. The larger one, the mother, looked up at Sarah with eyes that were unmistakably intelligent and filled with fear. Sarah's training kicked in. These weren't invaders or monsters. They were survivors in need of help. "It's okay," she said, knowing they probably couldn't understand her. "I'm here to help." The alien mother's eyes widened in surprise, then relief. She gestured weakly to her child, her meaning clear. "Save her." Sarah nodded, her decision made. She was about to become a traitor to her species, to break every law and social norm on Novus Prime. And she didn't care one bit. With gentle but urgent movements, Sarah secured the child in a makeshift sling across her chest. Then she helped the mother to her feet, supporting her weight. "Come on," Sarah said, leading them out of the wreckage. "Let's get you somewhere safe." As they emerged from the ship, the alien mother looked up at the alien sky of Novus Prime, then at the human woman helping them. In that moment, a spark of hope ignited in her heart. Perhaps their mission wasn't a complete failure after all. Sarah helped them onto her hoverbike, her mind racing with plans. How would she hide them? How could she treat their injuries? And what would she do when the colonial authorities inevitably came looking? She didn't have all the answers, but as she felt the alien child's warmth against her chest and saw the gratitude in the mother's eyes, Sarah knew one thing for certain. She was in this for the long haul. The hoverbike roared to life, carrying its unlikely trio of passengers away from the crash site. Behind them, the alien ship sat silently, its secrets waiting to be discovered. And high above, in the stratosphere of Novus Prime, another ship watched and waited, its crew wrestling with a momentous decision. The fate of two worlds now rested in the hands of a retired human mechanic and the alien she had chosen to save. The adventure was only beginning. The mechanic. Sarah Chen's hoverbike streaked across the barren landscape of Novus Prime, kicking up a trail of red dust. The alien child, Lumi, was secured tightly against her chest, while the mother, Zarela, clung weakly to her back. Sarah's mind raced faster than her bike, trying to process the enormity of what she had just done. "What the hell am I thinking?" she muttered to herself, the words lost in the rush of wind. But deep down, she knew. She was doing what was right, consequences be damned. As they approached the outskirts of New Houston Colony, Sarah veered off the main road, taking a winding path through a maze of abandoned mining equipment. Her workshop sat nestled among the rusty behemoths, a haven of technology in a wasteland of forgotten dreams. Sarah killed the engine and helped her alien passengers off the bike. Zarela stumbled, her crystalline skin dulled with fatigue and pain. Without hesitation, Sarah scooped up both mother and child in her arms, marveling at how light they felt despite their alien physiology. "Hang in there," she said, kicking open the workshop door. "We're safe now." The interior of Sarah's workshop was a chaotic blend of human and salvage alien tech. Half-finished projects littered every surface, a testament to her restless mind and engineering genius. She cleared a space on a workbench, gently laying down her alien guests. Zarela's eyes fluttered open, locking onto Sarah's. The alien's hand reached out, grasping Sarah's arm with surprising strength. A flood of images and emotions suddenly filled Sarah's mind. Gratitude, fear, and a desperate plea for help. Sarah gasped, staggering back. What the was that telepathy? Zarela nodded weakly, her skin pulsing with a soft, apologetic blue. Sarah took a deep breath, centering herself. "Okay, telepathic aliens. Sure, why not? Let's add that to the list of impossible things happening today." She turned her attention to the injuries of her new charges. Lumi, the child, seemed to be in better shape, suffering mostly from shock and minor cuts. Zarela, however, was in bad shape. Purple blood oozed from several deep gashes, and her breathing was labored. Sarah's military medical training kicked in. She grabbed her med kit and got to work, using a combination of standard first aid techniques and improvised solutions for the aliens' unique physiology. As she worked, she kept up a steady stream of chatter, more for her own benefit than theirs. "So, Ambassador Zar-Elah, I'm guessing this wasn't the welcome party you were expecting. Don't worry, not all of us humans are trigger-happy xenophobes. Some of us actually paid attention in history class and remember how first contact scenarios are supposed to go." Hours passed as Sarah worked tirelessly to stabilize Zar-Elah's condition. The alien's wounds slowly began to close, her crystalline skin knitting itself back together with Sarah's help. Lumi had awoken and watched the process with wide, curious eyes, occasionally reaching out to touch Sarah's hair or clothes with wonder. As night fell, Sarah finally allowed herself a moment to rest. She slumped into a chair, exhaustion etched on her face. "What now?" she wondered aloud. A soft chime from her computer terminal jolted her back to alertness. It was an official colony-wide alert. Unidentified spacecraft crash reported in Sector 7. All citizens are to report any suspicious activity or alien sightings immediately. Failure to comply will result in severe penalties. Sarah's heart raced. She looked at Zar-Elah and Lumi, then back at the alert. The choice was clear. With renewed determination, she began gathering supplies. Food, water, medical equipment, and as much portable tech as she could carry. She'd need to move them soon, find a safer hiding place outside the colony. As she worked, Sarah's mind wandered to her past. She had joined the colonial military with dreams of exploration and discovery, only to find herself party to acts of xenophobic aggression. It was why she had left, choosing a life of solitude over one of blind obedience. Now fate had given her a second chance, a chance to make first contact the right way, to bridge the gap between two species. It was terrifying, exhilarating, and quite possibly suicidal. But for the first time in years, Sarah felt truly alive. A gentle touch on her arm interrupted her thoughts. Zar-Elah had regained consciousness and was looking at her with an expression that transcended species barriers. It was a look of trust and gratitude. Once again, Sarah felt the alien's thoughts in her mind. Images of a peaceful world, of creatures of all shapes and sizes living in harmony. Then, jarringly, scenes of conflict, of misunderstanding and fear leading to violence. Finally, a vision of hope. Humans and aliens standing together, united. "That's why you came," Sarah whispered. "You're trying to prevent a war." Zar-Elah nodded, her skin shimmering with a mix of somber purple and hopeful green. She gestured to Lumi, then to Sarah, her meaning clear. "The future depends on us." Sarah took a deep breath, squaring her shoulders. "All right then, let's rewrite history." Just then, the distant sound of engines broke the night silence. Search parties, no doubt, combing the area for signs of the crash. Sarah's expression hardened with resolve. "Time to go. Hope you ladies are up for a little off-road adventure." She helped Zar-Elah to her feet, marveling at how quickly the alien was healing. Luma clung to her mother, but her eyes were bright with excitement rather than fear. As Sarah led them to a hidden exit at the back of her workshop, she couldn't help but smile. Here she was, a washed-up military engineer, about to go on the run with two aliens who might just hold the key to intergalactic peace. "Mom always said I had a knack for finding trouble," Sarah muttered, unsealing the heavy door. Wonder what she'd say about this. The door swung open, revealing the vast, star-filled sky of Novus Prime. Somewhere out there, beyond the reach of colonial paranoia and fear, lay the promise of a better future. Sarah Chen, reluctant hero and unlikely diplomat, took her first step into that future with an alien ambassador and child by her side. The search parties drew closer, their harsh lights cutting through the darkness. But Sarah, Zar-Elah, and Lumi were already gone, swallowed up by the night, their destinies intertwined in ways none of them could have imagined. The real journey was just beginning. The healing. The old mining tunnel echoed with the soft hum of makeshift equipment and the occasional ping of falling rocks. Sarah Chen wiped sweat from her brow, her eyes fixed on the jury-rigged medical device she'd cobbled together from spare parts and determination. "Come on, you piece of junk," she muttered, adjusting a dial. "Work already." Beside her, Ambassador Zarella lay on a cot, her crystalline skin flickering between shades of purple and blue. The alien's breathing was labored, each inhale a struggle against the toxic atmosphere of Novus Prime. Little Lumi sat nearby, her large eyes darting between her mother and the strange human who had saved them. She clutched a small device Sarah had given her, a basic universal translator, another product of late-night engineering and desperation. The medical device sputtered, then hummed to life. Sarah let out a whoop of triumph. "Yes, Zarella, hang in there. This should help filter out the atmospheric toxins from your system." As Sarah attached the device to Zarella, the alien ambassador's eyes fluttered open. A weak smile played across her features, and Sarah felt a gentle touch in her mind. Gratitude, tinged with pain, but also hope. "You're welcome," Sarah said softly, "just returning the favor. Your healing abilities are incredible, but even you need a little help with this atmosphere." Over the past week, as they'd hidden in this abandoned mining complex, Sarah had learned much about her alien guests. Zarella's species, the Luminae, possessed remarkable regenerative abilities and a form of touch-based telepathy. But Novus Prime's atmosphere, while breathable, contained elements toxic to their biology. Sarah had been working tirelessly to create a solution, drawing on her military engineering background and the bits of alien technology she'd salvaged from the crash site. It was like trying to solve a puzzle with pieces from different sets, but Sarah thrived on the challenge. As the medical device did its work, color began to return to Zarella's skin. The ambassador sat up slowly, her movements gaining strength. "Thank you, Sarah Chen," Zarella said, her voice melodious even through the translator. "Your kindness and ingenuity continue to amaze me." Sarah shrugged, uncomfortable with the praise, just doing what anyone would do. Zarella shook her head, her skin shimmering with a mix of blue gratitude and green amusement. "No, not anyone. Your people shot us down without provocation. You alone chose to help us." The words hung heavy in the air. Sarah's expression darkened as she thought of the colonial government's paranoia and xenophobia. "Yeah, well, some of us remember that humanity's supposed to be better than that." Lumi, sensing the shift in mood, scampered over to Sarah. The young alien's touch was like a burst of sunshine in Sarah's mind. Pure joy and curiosity, untainted by the complexities of adult concerns. Sarah couldn't help but smile. "Hey there, kiddo. Want to help me with some repairs?" Lumi nodded eagerly, and Sarah led her to a workbench strewn with parts from the crashed ship. As they worked, Sarah found herself marveling at the young alien's intuitive grasp of technology. "You're a natural, Lumi," Sarah said, watching the child assemble complex circuits with ease. "Bet you'll be an engineer someday, just like your mom." Zarella, who had been resting, opened her eyes at this. "Actually," she said, her tone serious, "Lumi is why we came to your world, Sarah." Sarah's hand stilled. She turned to face the ambassador, sensing the weight of the words to come. Zarella's skin rippled with shades of deep purple, a sign of sorrow. Sarah had learned. Lumi is special, even among our kind. Her abilities go far beyond the norm. We believe she may be the key to bridging our species, to fostering true understanding. As if on cue, Lumi looked up from her work. Her small hand reached out, touching Sarah's arm. Suddenly, Sarah's mind was flooded with visions, stars wheeling overhead, strange worlds teeming with life, and through it all, a sense of profound connection. Sarah gasped, staggering back. What was that?" "The future," Zarella said simply, "or at least one possible future. Lumi can see the threads of possibility, the paths that connect all living things. It's why we risked everything to come here. We believe that human ingenuity, combined with Lumi's gifts, could usher in an era of unprecedented peace and cooperation among the stars. Sarah's mind reeled with the implications. She looked at Lumi with new eyes, seeing not just a child, but a living bridge between worlds. But now, Zar-Ella continued, her tone heavy, that future is in jeopardy. If your people react with fear and violence, it could set off a chain reaction leading to interstellar war. The weight of responsibility settled on Sarah's shoulders like a physical thing. She thought of the search parties combing the planet, of the trigger-happy colonial militia. One wrong move could doom not just Zar-Ella and Lumu, but countless worlds. So, no pressure, huh? Sarah said with a wry smile. She ran a hand through her disheveled hair, mind racing with possibilities. Okay, we need a plan. A way to show the colony. Hell, to show all of humanity that you're not a threat. Zar-Ella nodded, her skin taking on a determined gold hue. Yes, but it must be done carefully. A misstep could be catastrophic. As they began to brainstorm, Lumi returned to her tinkering. The device she was working on suddenly lit up, projecting a holographic star map onto the cave wall. Sarah and Zar-Ella fell silent, watching in awe as the young alien manipulated the projection with intuitive gestures. Looks like the kid's got some ideas of her own, Sarah murmured. Indeed, Lumi's star map was showing more than just celestial bodies. It displayed trade routes, potential colony sites, and areas of shared resources. It was a roadmap to cooperation, drawn by the innocent hands of a child who could see the connections no one else could. Sarah felt a surge of hope. Maybe, just maybe, they could pull this off. With Zar-Ella's wisdom, Lumi's unique gifts, and her own human determination, they might yet change the course of history. As the holographic stars twinkled on the cave wall, Sarah allowed herself a moment of wonder. She had signed up for the colonial forces dreaming of adventure among the stars. Now, in this hidden cave with 2 alien refugees, she was living that dream in ways she could never have imagined. All right, ladies, Sarah said, clapping her hands together. Let's save the galaxy. All right, ladies, Sarah said, clapping her hands together. Let's save the galaxy. Zar-Ella's skin shimmered with hopeful blue, while Lumi let out a musical laugh. Together, this unlikely trio, a human mechanic, an alien ambassador, and a child touched by the cosmos, began to forge a plan that would shake the foundations of 2 worlds and beyond. The healing had begun, not just of physical wounds, but of the rifts between species, and in that healing lay the seeds of a brighter future for all. The pursuit. The calm of the abandoned mining complex was shattered by the shrill wail of proximity alarms. Sarah Chen's eyes snapped open, her body tensing as she leaped from her makeshift bed. Shit, she hissed, rushing to the jury-rigged sensor array. They found us. Zar-Ella was already up, her crystalline skin pulsing with alarmed orange hues. Lumi clung to her mother's side, eyes wide with fear. How? Zar-Ella asked, her melodious voice tinged with worry. We've been so careful. Sarah's fingers flew over the controls, bringing up a holo display of the surrounding area. Red dots representing colonial search parties were converging on their location. Doesn't matter how, Sarah growled. What matters is we need to move. Now. They had known this day might come, but hoping against hope, they had stayed in the relative safety of the mines to finish their preparations. Now that decision might cost them everything. Sarah sprinted to a tarp-covered mass in the corner of the cavern, yanking it away to reveal a cobbled-together vehicle. It looked like the unholy offspring of a moon rover and a racing bike, with bits of alien tech grafted onto its frame. Our ticket out of here, Sarah announced, patting the vehicle's flank. She ain't pretty, but she's fast, and she'll keep us breathing in the toxic zones. Zar-Ella nodded, helping Lumi into the backseat of the strange vehicle. The young alien clutched a small device to her chest, the prototype communicator they had been working on, their best hope for peaceful contact. As Sarah fired up the engine, the cavern walls shook with a distant explosion. The colonial forces were getting closer, using mining charges to clear blocked tunnels. "Hang on," Sarah warned, gunning the engine. The vehicle shot forward, plunging into a dark tunnel barely wide enough to accommodate it. They burst out of the mountain into the harsh light of Novus Prime's binary suns. Sarah didn't slow down, pushing the vehicle to its limits as they raced across the barren landscape. Behind them, the whine of pursuit vehicles filled the air. Sarah risked a glance at the rearview scanner. At least a dozen colonial transports were on their tail, weapons bristling. "This is Security Chief Vargas to the fugitive vehicle," a stern voice crackled over the emergency band. "Power down and surrender immediately. You are harboring dangerous alien life forms. Compliance will be met with leniency." Sarah snorted, switching off the comm. "Yeah, right. Leniency, my ass." She knew Vargas by reputation, a hardline xenophobe who had been pushing for more aggressive anti-alien policies for years. In his hands, Zarella and Lumi would face a fate worse than death. "Sarah." Zarella's voice was calm despite the chaos around them. "Perhaps we should consider surrendering. I could attempt to communicate." "No." Sarah cut her off, swerving to avoid a plasma burst from one of the pursuing vehicles. "Trust me, these guys aren't interested in talking. Our only chance is to make it to the old comm array in Sector 9. If we can boost your prototype signal from there, we might be able to get your message out to the whole colony before they catch us." Lumi's small hand touched Sarah's shoulder, and suddenly her mind was filled with a vision. A massive dish antenna rising from the desert, surrounded by a shimmering energy field. The path to get there unfolded in her mind like a glowing map. "Thanks, kiddo," Sarah grinned, taking the sharp turn that their pursuers hadn't anticipated. "Your navigation skills are getting scary good." The chase continued across the harsh terrain of Novus Prime. Sarah's driving was a masterclass in evasion, using the landscape and her intimate knowledge of the planet to stay just ahead of their pursuers. But the colonial forces had numbers and firepower on their side, and they were slowly closing the gap. A lucky shot clipped their rear stabilizer, sending the vehicle into a spin. Sarah fought the controls, managing to bring them to a skidding stop behind a rocky outcropping. "End of the line," she panted, checking the vehicle's systems. "We'll have to make a run for it. The array is just over that ridge." Zarella's skin rippled with determination. "Then we run." They abandoned the smoking vehicle, Sarah carrying Lumi, while Zarella clutched the precious communicator. The sound of pursuit grew louder as they scrambled up the rocky slope. Just as they crested the ridge, a colonial transport roared overhead, cutting off their path. Security Chief Vargas himself stepped out, flanked by heavily armed troops. "It's over, Chen," he called out, his voice filled with disgust. "Turn over the aliens, and maybe you'll avoid a treason charge." Sarah placed herself in front of Zarella and Luma, her eyes blazing with defiance. "You want them? You'll have to go through me." Vargas sneered, raising his weapon. "So be it. Men, take aim." But before he could finish the order, the air was filled with a high-pitched whine. Everyone, human and alien alike, clutched their heads as a wave of psychic energy washed over them. Lumi stood with her arms outstretched, her small form radiating an otherworldly power. Images flooded everyone's minds, visions of peace, of cooperation, of a future where humans and aliens worked side by side to explore the cosmos. The colonial troops lowered their weapons, looks of wonder and confusion replacing their earlier hostility. Even Vargas seemed shaken, his hardline certainty crumbling in the face of Lumi's gift. In that moment of stunned silence, Zarella stepped forward. Her voice, amplified by the prototype communicator, rang out clear and true. "People of Novus Prime," she began, her words carried on waves of psychic energy to every corner of the colony. "We come to you not as invaders, but as friends, as partners in the grand adventure of cosmic exploration." As Zarella spoke, painting a picture of the bright future that awaited if their species could overcome fear and mistrust, Sarah felt a weight lift from her shoulders. She looked at Lumi, the young alien's face serene as she channeled her incredible gift, and then at the awestruck faces of the colonial troops. In that moment, Sarah Chen, ex-military engineer turned alien smuggler, realized that she had been part of something truly extraordinary. She had helped plant the seeds of a revolution not of violence, but of understanding. The pursuit was over, but the real journey, humanity's journey to the stars and beyond, was just beginning. The revelation. The colonial capital of New Houston buzzed with an energy it hadn't seen in years. Humans and aliens mingled in the streets, their faces alight with excitement and wonder. Holographic displays showed scenes from across the galaxy, distant worlds, strange new life forms, and the promise of adventures beyond imagination. In the center of it all stood Sarah Chen, feeling distinctly out of place in her formal attire. She tugged at the collar of her dress uniform, a reminder of the military past she'd fought long behind her. "Stop fidgeting," Zarella chided gently, her crystalline skin shimmering with amused green tones. "You look fine," Sarah snorted. "Easy for you to say. You always look like a walking piece of art." They stood on a stage before the Colonial Parliament building, waiting for the ceremony to begin. It had been 6 months since the day on the ridge when Lumi's gift had changed everything. 6 months of frantic diplomacy, technological exchange, and a complete reimagining of humanity's place in the cosmos. Lumi darted between them, her eyes wide with excitement. The young alien had become a symbol of hope for both species, her unique abilities bridging gaps that had once seemed insurmountable. As the crowd quieted, Governor Reyes stepped up to the podium. The former hardliner had undergone a remarkable transformation, becoming one of the strongest advocates for human-alien cooperation. Citizens of Novus Prime, honored guests from across the stars. Reyes began, his voice carrying across the square. "Today, we stand on the brink of a new era, an era of exploration, of friendship, and of infinite possibility." Sarah let the words wash over her, still scarcely believing how much had changed. The revelation of alien life, far from sparking conflict, had ignited a renaissance of human innovation and optimism. And none of this would have been possible, Rice continued, without the bravery and vision of 3 incredible individuals: Ambassador Zarella of the Lumine, her daughter Lumi, and our own Sarah Chen. The crowd erupted in cheers. Sarah felt her cheeks burn, unused to such attention. Zarella placed a comforting hand on her shoulder, sending a wave of calm through their touch telepathic link. As Reyes spoke of the new joint human-Lumine space program and the wonders it promised to uncover, Sarah's mind wandered to the true revelation that had changed everything. The secret Zarella had finally shared with her in private, just days after their confrontation with Vargas. "There's something you need to know, Sarah," Zarella had said, her skin pulsing with serious purple hues, "about why we really came to Novus Prime." Sarah had listened, stunned, as Zarella explained. The Lumine were not just another alien race. They were guardians, caretakers of the galaxy who had watched over countless young species as they took their first steps into the cosmic community. "Humanity is at a crucial juncture," Zarella had explained. "Your technology is advancing rapidly, but your wisdom lags behind. Left unchecked, you could become a danger to yourselves and others." "So, what? You came to babysit us?" Sarah had asked, a hint of defensiveness in her voice. Zarella's laugh was like tinkling crystals. "No, Sarah. We came to invite you to join us." The Lumine had seen great potential in humanity, resourcefulness, determination, and a unique creativity that could complement their own abilities. Lumi's gift was the key, a way to forge a deep connection between their species. "We believe that together, humans and Lumine can achieve wonders beyond imagining," Zarella had said. "But it had to be a choice freely made, not imposed from above. That's why we came in secret, why we allowed ourselves to be vulnerable, to see if humanity could rise above fear and choose compassion." Now, standing on the stage as Governor Reyes, announced the launch of the first joint human-Lumine starship, Sarah marveled at how far they'd come. Humanity had passed the test, proving they were ready for the responsibilities and wonders that awaited them among the stars. As the ceremony concluded, Sarah felt a tug on her hand. Lumi looked up at her, those impossibly old eyes shining in her young face. With a touch, the alien child shared a vision of the future, starships bearing the flags of both species, new worlds ripe for exploration, and challenges that would push both humans and Lumine to their limits. "Quite a view, huh, kid?" Sarah said, ruffling Lumi's hair like tendrils. Zarella joined them, her expression serene. "It's only the beginning, Sarah. The true revelations await us out there." She gestured to the sky, where the first stars were becoming visible in the fading light. Sarah took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the future on her shoulders. But it was a weight she was glad to bear. "Well then," she said with a grin, "what are we waiting for? Let's go see what's out there." As they left the stage, walking towards the newly unveiled starship that would be their home for the coming years, Sarah reflected on the strange path that had led her here. From disillusioned mechanic to reluctant hero, and now to ambassador of her entire species, the revelation of humanity's true potential and the role they would play in the grand tapestry of the cosmos was just beginning to unfold. And Sarah Chen, along with her unlikely alien family, would be at the forefront, leading the way into a future brighter than any of them could have imagined. The stars beckoned, and humanity, at long last, was ready to answer the call.